Jessica Bristol and her two young children check into room 104 of the Travel-In Motel at 9 p.m. on Friday night. She produced a credit card issue in her name as a form of payment and requested that she given the room for 2 nights. On Saturday afternoon, a man identifying himself as Preston Bristol, Jessica Bristol's husband, presented himself at the front desk and asked for the key that she was supposed to have left for him at the front desk. He stated that he was joining his wife and children at the motel. They were visiting relatives, but he had to work day before. The desk clerk replied no key had been left and proceeded to call the room to inform Miss Jessica Bristol that her husband was the front desk. There was no answer in the room. Preston Bristol then produced his driver license for the desk clerk, which had the same address that Jessica Bristol had used on her registration card. Mr. Bristol also produced a credit card issue in his name with the same account number as that used by Jessica Bristol at check-in. As the desk clerk perused the license and credit card, Mr. Bristol offhandedly referred to a feature in his wallet of Jessica Bristol and his two children. Based on the positive identification, the desk clerk issued Mr. Bristol a key to Jessica Bristol's room. At approximately 6 p.m. on Saturday, a guest in room 105 called the front desk to complain about a loud argument into room 104. Jessica Bristol's room, the desk clerk called room 104 but got no answer. The clerk then called the police. When they arrived, they found Jessica Bristol badly beaten and her children missing. A description of Mr. Bristol's car quickly led to his arrest of the recovery of the children by the police. Jessica Bristol recovered from her injuries and completed of the divorce proceeding she had begun against her husband, stating that the motel was negligent and had violated her right to privacy. The motel position was the acted reasonable to ensure that Mr. Bristol. In addition, she filed assault and battery charges against him. Jessica Bristol also sued the motel manager owner and the franchise company for $8 million, stating the motel was negligent and had to violated her right to privacy. The motel's position was that it acted reasonable by ensuring Mr. Bristol's identity and added that it was not an insurer of the guest safety and could not have foreseen Mr. Bristol's actions. Did the desk clerk act in a reasonable manner? For me, no, because she had no right to give a information of the guest, even if it's her husband or relative of the guest. And she had mistake to give information because it is private and she don't know if Mr. Bristol is a stranger for Mrs. Bristol. We need to be aware of that situation to avoid accident.
I think he can, even if he was the husband of the guest, because he did have the right to enter the room of the motel, because he had no permission from the guest. Without the consent of the guest who occupying the room, he did not give permission to go there, even though he gave a lot of information about someone who booked the room.
To prevent this critical problem in the future, the hotel management should remind their employees of what they should do once the guests check in at the hotel, namely, protect it, serve it, and they do what are supposed to do as an employee so that they do not have a problem in the future. And their employee must also be fully trained to handle their guests to make ensure the safety of their customers and particularly the hotel where we work.
We must first identify everyone who entered the hotel before we trust other people, because we have the right to identify everyone who enter, because it is a private hotel that requires complete information on those who enter private places.
The lesson that I get in the case study was difficult to understand and acknowledge because of the situation. It is not easy to handle it and not a good way necessarily, because it's all about the customer's right. So, my opinion, as an employee of the company or some hotel, something like that, you need to prioritize the safetyness of your customer before you give a feedback information in someone else. Whatever they do, whatever they wanted, make sure you need to identify the person, if he is a family relative or whatsoever. This is for the security of the guest customer. Just wait for their permission and privacy of the guests to avoid accident, conflict issues, and mental problems. And of course, these values are most popular to consider in moral essence of individual employment and the workplace to get easily convey their hazardries. And that is the qualification that I really consider most and in all aspect of workplace environment.